Thank you, Fiona Oakes, for being on Veggie Channel, and we are very happy to be here with you in the place where you live, actually. Do you live here? Yes?
Yeah, I do live here, yeah.
This is Essex, it's a region close to London, actually. Why did you choose to live in such a beautiful place, next to the sea, actually?
Yeah, it happened by accident, actually. Originally, we had another site 4 miles down the road from here, and it was the only place we could afford to buy with any land for our animals. So we, the idea was that Martin would continue to go to work and pay for them, and I would stay at home and look after them. And he needed to get into London, so we needed to be somewhere that was accessible. In this place, because it's on a peninsula and it's not got that greater service network, but it is very rural, just fitted perfectly. So that's why we ended up here.
It's very interesting to see the way you live, your lifestyle, which is something else that we were expecting, because we know you by the fact that you are a world record breaker. You have four world records, but also you rescue animals in this place. Yes.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Your lifestyle is in between the training and taking care of these animals.
The training has to be fitted in around caring for the animals. The animals always come first. The training is very much secondary to that. And I kind of fell into running by accident. So it's probably not what I would choose to be doing, but it was actually a knock-on effect from caring for the animals. When we started the sanctuary, after a couple of years, I realised I can't rescue all the animals. This isn't enough. I need to stop the need for animals being rescued. And for me, that was to promote veganism. I've been vegan practically all my life for 47 years now. And I just wanted to show the world what a healthy and viable option it was for everyone. I had a lot of surgeries when I was in my teenage years. I had my right kneecap removed. I was told that I would never walk properly again, let alone run.
What happened to your knee?
Basically, it was like I was imbalanced in my growing, and my bones were growing too quickly. It was impacting especially on the right side. Because I couldn't walk properly, that was impacting then on the other side of my knee, and so I was getting problems in both knees. And in the end, they said, you'll have to have your kneecap removed. It was crumbling anyway. And they did say, this will impact you in the future. It's certainly going to impact any sport that you do. I was always very sporty, a very outdoor kid.
Did they tell you that you were not going to walk properly?
Yeah, they told me. And indeed, I don't walk properly. And when Keegan actually showed me the first footage of Running for Good, I looked at it and thought, I was reluctant to ever look at the film. And I went out to Hollywood to the premiere where Rich came over to me and said, oh, you must be very proud of the film. What do you think to it? And I kind of said, I haven't watched it yet. He said, you haven't watched it? And I was going to sit in the back of the cinema and kind of hide away and then just sort of pop up at the end of the film. He said, no, you've got to come and sit next to me and watch it. I thought, oh, come on, Fiona, collect yourself. It can't look that bad. You are in the desert. You have got all the gear on. You can't look that bad. And when the first footage was shown, I realised who's this little Quasimodo type figure limping along with this giant pack on her back, and it was me. And I do limp when I run. And indeed, even when I was out at a race a couple of weeks ago, some guy recognised me from the film, and he said, I thought it was you. And he said, when I saw you warm up, I knew it was you because I could see you limping. Oh no! But yeah, I was told I wouldn't, walk or run properly. I don't. I've got a very individual style for running. It gets me there, but it's not pretty to watch. So yeah, I had these operations, and I kind of fell into running because I wanted to do something to promote veganism positively and peacefully and be proactive. Women's sport doesn't get the greatest amount of attention even now, but 20 years ago, it really didn't get any. Paula Radcliffe was doing very, very well in the marathon. I kind of figured in a very, very simplistic way, I better get good at marathon running because that's the only thing that's getting any attention in the mainstream media. So I thought, well, if I could at least complete a marathon, compete in one. Yes. It was being billed at the time as the toughest, the pinnacle of endurance sport. I always say to people, especially youngsters who don't remember a time before social media, don't forget that it was only in 1984 that the marathon was introduced to the Olympic schedule for women. Before that, it was adjudged to be too tough an event for them. So this was back in the early noughties, not long after that. So I thought, if I can complete a marathon, it shows definitively that you can do anything on a long-term plant-based diet. And it kind of roller coaster from there, don't just want to compete in one, complete one. I want to win them. I want to get up there on the start line with the best runners in the world to showcase the Vegan Runner Vest, the club I'm very, very proud of co-founding back in 2004, specifically with that agenda to promote veganism in a positive way to a captive audience.
This was actually your strongest motivation.
Yeah, that's my only motivation. I really wouldn't have even considered trying to run if it hadn't have been for that. But I thought, well, I know I was told I couldn't run, but until I try, I don't know. And I thought, well, I can jog, I can get around the sanctuary, I'm pretty strong, I'm pretty healthy. And it kind of went on from there. I'm very ambitious in terms of what I want to achieve. And I think the added incentive is the animals. I want to do well for them. I want to be the best person I can be to promote the beauty of what I believe in and hopefully in some way influence others to follow that path. So that's how I kind of fell into it, and it's all roller coastered on from there. So like 17 years later, I've got 4 world records, something I didn't plan. I've got top 20 places in 2 of the world's major marathons. I've got a personal best of 2 hours 38 minutes. I've got multiple wins. I've got, you know, stage wins in Marathon des Sables and big races like that.
Which one was the most difficult?
They've all been a challenge. I ran Marathon des Sables in 2012 with 2 fractured toes. That was appallingly difficult.
What does it mean? How many days were running?
That's 7 days of running in the Sahara Desert. Roughly a marathon a day, with 1 day is at least a double marathon. What makes it very, very difficult is obviously the heat, the terrain, the conditions, and also the fact that it's completely self-sufficient, apart from limited supply of water.
How did you manage from the nutrition point of view?
It was hard back in 2012 because I was doing it as an ethical vegan. Even sourcing lightweight sleeping bags, that, you know, stuff that isn't down-filled was very, very hard. My sleeping bag weighed 1 kilo. As everybody else's weighed about 300 grams. I just took very, very basic stuff. I took like Mar Baker flapjack bars, dates, marzipan, nuts, anything like that. I mean, for that week, the last thing you're focusing on is food. You don't even want to think about food. Well, I didn't, at least. It was tough, but you're driven. You just want to get through the challenge. You just want to do it for the animals. That's what spurred me on. People actually asked, what did you eat in 2012 in MDS? And it was literally just survived on painkillers and a few ball sweets. I was in so much pain.
What part of
my foot? Because my feet, you know, I've got these broken toes. I knew they were fractured a few days before I went out to run. I didn't know quite how hard the event was. There wasn't so much on social media about it then. My right foot was swollen anyway because of the fracture, so I could hardly get my feet into my shoes when I went out there. They swelled up in the heat massively, and by the long stage you could see the bone sticking out my little toe. It was so bad, but I just kept going because messages of support were coming from around the world.
And what about now? Are you recovered?
Yeah, it's perfectly recovered. I've done it twice since, so yeah, I've been back.
You've been running and running.
Yeah.
Recovered.
Yeah, it's recovered, and I've never actually had a running injury. I've had injuries like that which have impacted my running, but I've never had a running injury. And I do heal very, very quickly and recover very quickly. So yeah, that was a tough one. The North Pole was obviously very challenging because of the temperatures. And the road marathons, to run a fast road marathon, you know, sub 240 is very, very hard. As a woman, as a man, it's a really, really big ask. Just channeling everything you've got into this one Sunday morning, randomly picked in kind of the spring and the autumn. They're all a big ask. What's hardest for me is fitting it in around looking after these motley bunch.
And do you still have this strong motivation?
Yeah, I do actually. I think that, you know, if I'm doing something, I want it to be effective for the animals. So now, for me, it's going out there. I've come back to road running, actually. I've just qualified to run for England in both the 10K and the half marathon. That's next year. I want to prove the longevity and sustainability and the viability through just being able to keep churning it out, the recovery. And yeah, I'm very motivated because I think it's a very positive thing to do for the animals. I did an interview this morning with the Guardian newspaper, and they was particularly interested in the Vegan Runner Club. Their editor had seen how many vegan runners are at races now, and that really, really is inspiring. You know, you think, you know, we started that club in 2004, just me and a guy called Peter Simpson, and now it's grown and grown and grown to get the message out there across, emblazoned across your chest, I'm vegan. It's really positive. So yeah, while ever I'm still think I'm being creative and doing different things and achieving more with my running, I'll keep doing it. After that, I'll just retire and look after the animals or do something different here. But at the moment, yeah, I do feel very inspired to do it.
How do you organize your food, your nutrition during the day?
I don't actually eat during the day. I only eat one meal. That's true.
I read that you eat only once
one meal a day in the evening. That's all I eat. I don't trickle feed or anything like that throughout the day. I get up and it's literally one long assault of work and running. And, funnily enough, I'm not comparing myself to the Kenyan runners because they're in a completely different league, but a lot of them apparently train when on fasted stomachs, and they only eat after. And indeed, when I went out to one of the big races that I ran in Omsk, biggest race in Russia actually, a big marathon, I was there at this IAAF conference, and they laid on a big lunch for us the day before the race. One of the Kenyan coaches said to me, "Are you coming to lunch?" And I said, no, I actually only eat one meal a day. And he said, "Oh yes, that's the warrior diet." And I kind of, I've not heard it called that, but yeah, that, if you want to go with it, sounds good. And he said a lot of the Kenyans do that, and a lot of them prefer to eat basic plant-based whole food diets. They don't include meat in their diets for whatever reason. I think a lot of the time they simply can't afford it, so they learn to adjust on plant-based, and it works for them. But yeah, that's all I have, one meal a day, and it works for me. It saves me the bother of having to sit down and break off to eat.
You save a lot of time.
You do, very much so.
So you actually have one meal a day even when you have a competition?
Yeah. For basic road marathons, they start, generally speaking, I've run one or two in the evenings, but they start in the morning. So I eat a meal at night, and then I go to the race in the morning, I run. I don't even carry gels in a marathon. I've never had anything but plain water. Only water. Only a few sips of water in a road race. For the ultra stage races, it is a bit different. I'm always acutely aware that you probably should have something in the morning. And I have sat around campfires in the desert looking at these flapjack bars thinking, how on earth am I going to get this down me? I just don't want it. And you kind of, an hour later, you're still fumbling about with this Marbaker flapjack bar. And it's just something that works for me. I mean, during the race, I might have a few isotonic drinks, but I'm not a big food person. I don't even consider myself to be an athlete. I'm just somebody who's applying something to athletics and being the best I can, whether it's caring for the animals or running. I'm just trying to be the best I can for them. I've run against talented people, and I know I'm not one of them. I'm just literally getting through, winging a prayer and gritting it out. That's all I do. Once the running, the actual physical moving your legs and running is over, that's the last I think of it. I put it away and go and do something like that, and then I'm thinking, oh, better go running the next day. I don't stress about it.
What do you think is the thing that gives you the more energy? To do all these things during the day, and to run, and to win the competitions?
The carbohydrates, basic stuff like plants, basic plant food, and mentally, a lot of especially when you go up the longer distances, it's coming from here. Physically, yes, you've got to be predisposed to be strong to do these events, but mentally, you've got to have a desire to want to be there. And that's probably what gives me my edge. My desire to be out there achieving I'm not selfish enough to want to do it for myself. I am probably selfless enough to want to do it for them. That's what gives me the edge. I don't focus too much. I mean, people ask about protein and how much protein. I really don't know. I just obviously have enough. About 38 grams of protein a day is, I reckon, what I need. And people, you can get 10 grams of that per 100 from oats. So, for me, it's just been basic. I don't overthink things. I just go and do them. And if it doesn't work, then I'll look at adjusting it. But it does work for me, so I just...
Is that true that you've been vegan since the age of 3?
I've been vegan since the age of 6, vegetarian since the age of 3. Totally self-motivated, parents not vegan, not vegetarian, not even particular animal lovers. Just something in me, very deep in me, that has always been there.
Do you think the energy, the power that we have in our body is a combination of chemical energy and mental energy?
Yeah, I think as long as you have a basic balanced diet, it's your desire that will drive you to the next level. I honestly do believe that. And I think a lot of people with sport, compensate for the actual going out there and training with buying the gadgets and the placebo effect that they hope those gadgets and the foods will bring them. And for instance, I never have had a Garmin or a heart rate monitor. And people are surprised by that. I'm very good at judging pace. And I think you've got the most sophisticated computer about your person. Learn how to use it. And I've learned how to use mine. I know myself. I know if I'm not feeling right. A computer on your wrist doesn't know that. It doesn't know if you've had a busy day. It doesn't know if you're stressed out. It doesn't know if you're coming down with an illness. You do. So learn to tailor your training to what suits you and set your limitations and your parameters within what you think you can achieve. I set the bar high because the stakes are high. I tend to run with a kind of life or death mentality, but it's not my life or death. It's their life or death. And that gives me the extra sense to think that there is a very great importance to what I'm doing, other than just crossing the finish line first or breaking a record or a time. It's much more important to that to me. Yeah, and I think that's what gives me the edge. And indeed, in 2005, I was very lucky to be invited to go to the Amsterdam Marathon by Jos Herman. I was able to spend the evening on Friday with Haile Gebrselassie. And he was explaining to me, he kind of gave me this massive compliment that he thought we were very similar in our running. I'm thinking, no, you're about 3/4 of an hour quicker than me, but I'll take the compliment, it's coming from the greatest. And he said that he had no need to move up to the marathon after the 2 10,000 metre wins at the Olympics, but he felt that he was doing it for the people of his country. They were benefiting from what he was doing, and that's what drove him on. It gave him that extra amount of momentum that he needed to keep getting up early in the morning and training, and then going to work and then training again in the evening. It's not easy for anyone to do that. You've got to have a great motivation to do that, whether it be you just want to win or you want to do it for another reason, which is what I've wanted to do it for. It takes an enormous amount of effort to focus yourself.
Thank you, Fiona. I do really think you are giving the right motivation to all new generation, either if they are sportive or just kids loving the animals. Where people can get more information, make donations, what is the best help that people could do in this case?
We've got lots of ways that people can help. I mean, just, if they physically can't, obviously funds are what are required to run a place like this. An enormous amount of money. So if they want to make a donation or do some fundraising, the best way is to get in contact with us via the website or via the social media pages, towerhillstables.com. But even just sharing what we do with the world, that's a very important thing, to let the world know that people out there, this is a viable option. Animals can live in harmony together along with people. I'd like people to be able to come to the sanctuary and experience time with these animals. So break down the myths, this idea that, certain animals, dogs and cats, are companion animals and should be afforded dignity and respect, and farm animals shouldn't be. I want to break down that stereotype by introducing people to a different way of thinking, kind of compassion for all, equality for all. Best way is just to get in touch with us and tell us what you would like to do to help the sanctuary. Obviously, we're very, very grateful of the financial support we receive from people, because I always say I don't want anybody's money, but the people I deal with, the vets, the farriers, the feed merchants, the forage merchants, they do. So if you want to even directly donate to them, that's great. So yeah, best way is to just contact us and work out what you feel most comfortable with. If you want to come and visit and then discuss it, then great.
We are looking forward to seeing you maybe in a marathon in Italy, so we come and see you again.
Yeah, I've done Florence twice, so I might be back. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.